Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we will read the updates of the story about a man who had cheating ex-wife that couldn't accept he was moving on and is now engaging. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I highly recommend watching it on our channel first to fully understand the story and its progression. Let's get started. Update. Wow, didn't expect this type of response. Thank you all so much for your support and kind words, both for me, my fiancé, and my ex. It's sad that my situation with my ex and her abusive past isn't as uncommon as I thought. Reading some of your similar cases really makes one almost lose hope, but glad to see some people have recovered from them. A couple of things I forgot to add in the original post. Before the incident, my ex-sister-in-law was actually a militant feminist. Not that there's anything wrong with feminism, but she always had a tendency to take it to the extremes. After the divorce, she sat me down for coffee and profusely apologized for her role in the destruction of my marriage. She told me she knew how much this relationship meant to my ex, but didn't want to stunt her emotional growth or restrict her horizons, whatever the hell that means. She begged me not to give up on her sister, but I simply couldn't stay married. Since then, she has become the image of an 80s woman. She's no longer militant and is very reserved, the total opposite of who she was before. My wife's ex got sent to prison right after charges were filed. 2 more women came forward with reports about his abusive behavior. The really sad part is that both of these women were in long-term relationships which ended horribly because of this guy. One was married and the other was engaged. Turns out they had similar mental issues like my ex. Low self-esteem, self-hating, and whatnot. The married one even got pregnant with his child, to which he promptly abandoned. Class act, right? They have both stated that it was their greatest misfortune meeting this man, and being involved with him felt like they were cursed. Even after they both ended things, it apparently changed their outlook on relationships and life as a whole, and not for the better. Now for what has happened since my first post. Since my last post, my son's birthday was coming up, and he told us he wanted to have a camp night for it. Now, I must explain, the boy absolutely loves the outdoors. Everything from camping to hiking to even playing in rivers are his favorites. And obviously, due to the ongoing situation, we cannot go to our usual spots. So I offered my backyard for it. Another request he had was for my ex to sleep over as well. He wanted to imitate a scene from one of his kid adventure shows where both parents are sitting on either side of the child and all 3 are roasting marshmallows on the campfire. Now, I had absolutely no intention of denying my son's birthday wishes. But at the same time, I couldn't have my ex sleep in the same tent as me and my son. That would be too disrespectful to my fiancé, even though she said she understood. It was clear she wasn't okay with it. My ex seemed to take advantage of this and kept saying how much she was looking forward to spending the night with her 2 men, and even went as far as to buy a whole lot of camping equipment that would put Bear Grylls to shame. She was certainly trying to rub it in my fiancé's face and wasn't graceful about it either. I had to tell her to stop a couple of times, but she only relented when I threatened to invite her sister. Ever since our divorce, my ex has had a burning hatred for her sister. My ex acknowledges her role in the destruction of our marriage, but blames her sister for encouraging the affair and not safeguarding her from making choices that would ruin hers. But more importantly, according to her, our life together. It's gotten so bad that she refuses to let her sister spend any significant amount of time with our son, which at one point caused my ex-sister-in-law to have severe depression. For example, last year for Thanksgiving at her mom's place, I sometimes go for the sake of my son, mainly because he absolutely loves to see both of his parents celebrating stuff together with him. My ex exploded at her sister, calling her a parasite and the catalyst for her ruined life. Her sister has been trying for years to make amends, but is often met with violent, vicious remarks. The relationship between my ex-sister-in-law and her parents was certainly estranged for a while, especially with her father, who was a former firefighter. He basically disowned her at first, but was convinced to forgive her, at least in part, by his wife, her mother. But it was never the same, and I think that was probably the main reason why she changed so much. My ex-sister-in-law has been trying for years to reconcile with her sister, but it just seems to get worse as time goes on. Now to my debacle of sleeping in the same tent. A Redditor offered me a simple and effective solution. She suggested I go out and purchase a multi-room tent. That way, my fiancé could be included. I wasted no time and immediately went out to get one. Of course, my ex wasn't too happy about that, but was glad to be under the same roof as me during the birthday celebration. My son was on cloud nine. He ran around the yard and pretended he was a great explorer discovering a new land. When evening came, I made the fire, and my ex provided the marshmallows. He excitedly sat between us and started roasting his marshmallow alongside us. What I didn't expect was after we were done taking pictures and making s'mores, he handed my fiancée a stick and a marshmallow as well and sat next to her to make his seconds more. It's honestly a mystery how something this pure and perfect could come out of the absolute mess that was the relationship between me and my ex. My ex asked for a bit of time, to which I obliged. We stepped into the kitchen, and she apologized for her behavior on the day that I proposed, but not for her actions following that. She told me she still sees me as her husband in her mind, so the thought of me giving my heart to another terrified her. She said she never wanted to cause me pain and would give anything to go back in time and undo her mistakes. She mentioned how happy she was when the paternity test showed that I was the father because she thought it was a new beginning for us and that he was proof of our love. Another thing is that she mentioned how she never wanted me to see the real her, the ugly her. She said that the day I saw her in the hospital was the day she truly felt like her insides finally matched her outsides, and she never wanted me to see her that way. Although she did get counseling, I doubt it was effective. Something I didn't mention in the original post is that during the mandatory mediation, she would oftentimes sneak into my bed at night and just cry while holding me from behind. She would also pick my suit for me during these times while trying to convince me to stay in the marriage. I hated that I felt so emasculated with her when she was clearly suffering, but felt I had to leave before my resentment turned me into a monster. Anyway, I thanked her for the courage to share all this, but told her I was happy with where I was in life and with whom I was with. I told her I hoped she would find someone to make her happy as well. She said she meant what she told me on the day we divorced and will wait for me. I left the kitchen feeling exhausted because none of what I was trying to say got through to her. We decided to call it a night, where me and my fiancé slept in one room of the tent and my ex with my son in another. All in all, a good birthday for my son, but not so good a night for me. And that's the end of this story. What do you think about this whole thing? Let me know in the comments section below.